Right. Well, I think the billionaires are getting ready to flee. The fiat billionaires are getting ready to flee. There are many billionaires in our group right now have billions of sats, and they're going to stay right here for Renaissance 2.0. We're creating it. The incredible shrinking dollar is so obvious because of Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin is exposing and revealing the truth. And the truth is obvious to the likes of Richard Branson, who, by the way, is a very early holder of Bitcoin and accepted one of the very first companies in the world to accept Bitcoin back in like 2011 or 12. So, yeah, 2012 for Virgin Galactic. And the thing is, like, he's seen the writing on the wall. You better escape while you can. So if they, if maybe their plan is like they see the writing on the monetary wall, they see the incredible shrinking dollar, they see their privilege ending, they see the end of, the Cantillon effect, and they're going to get the hell off this planet.
Yeah, it's amazing that the Virgin Galactic took Bitcoin to secure places on his space shuttle, and he converted it immediately to fiat money. Didn't hold any on his balance sheet. So the people who bought those tickets when Bitcoin was a few $100s are probably regretting that choice. They talk about people wasting money on buying a toaster or a camera going back in 2011, 2012. Imagine putting up $250,000 or $500,000 for 2 seats back then would now be worth over $1 billion. And of course, they didn't keep it in their balance sheet either. So that's the way things were back in 2011. Their emphasis on payments was really strong at that time. And digital gold, as we now have come to understand more fully, was still not firmly entrenched in the mindset.
Right. It was the Winkleves twins who bought 2 tickets aboard this. They spent, I think, 215 Bitcoin each to secure a spot. So that would be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars today. So they have plenty. But yeah, I guess I think it was via BitPay, right? That Virgin Galactic had a deal. Richard Branson was an investor in that. But of course, Roger Ver kind of blew that company up too. And I want to kind of segue to the incredible shrinking dollar. You have this world reserve currency still, having an identity crisis, trying to figure out kind of how to piece together this empire, this disintegrating empire.
Oh yeah, well, all that money printing went to China, and now it's coming back in the form of higher prices. And it's structural, it's secular, it's not temporary, and it's the beginning of an inflationary era. The only thing we have to look for to really confirm this would be A, the bond market, and B, the US dollar. So the US dollar is moving up, which would imply deflation. So that's giving us a counter signal. And also the bond market, continues to trend higher. The 10-year, is it going to go below 1%? I mean, it could, I suppose. But at some point, it does run out of speed. It's a lot closer to the end of that cycle than the even the near to the end. It's getting down to the very bitter end. And then we enter a new cyclical, more inflation-oriented time. And if you look around the world, Stacey, and you see France and other countries are completely in open revolt due to the cost of food now getting to a point where it's causing food insecurity around the world. Many millions of people in the last few months have now entered into what's called food insecurity. So the price of food has gone up beyond their ability to survive. We saw this in Egypt right before Mubarak was overthrown during the Arab Spring. And we've seen this before. We saw it in Athens, Greece. We've seen it happen. The U.S. is insulated to some degree, but
there was $6 trillion sent out in stimulus. A lot of people paid down their credit cards, but they're starting to travel now. Flights domestically in the United States are totally booked up, 100% capacity. I think international travel maybe isn't as easy, but the freight costs, the containers from China, from Shanghai to Los Angeles, are up 500% in the past year.
Right.
It's and even adjusting for the collapse in trade last year for some bit of it. Like even back to 2019, it's way up. Volume is up from the previous all-time high. The previous all-time high in volume of actual goods coming from China to, Los Angeles was in 2017. Now the 2020 passed it to June 2020, passed it by 26%.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stimulus, all of that printed money is making its way to China. How long they continue to send us their goods for this incredible shrinking dollar, we don't know, but that is the spanner in the works of this whole plan to have everybody have UBI and free money and all sorts of stuff. We'll see. But Max and I were around and reporting in the lead up to the Arab Spring, which started in 2010 and 2011. Before that, you had, a lot of protests it started in Spain with the Indignados, and then in France. And remember, in France, they actually had placards, complaining about their purchasing power. And we had commented on that in our programs. I think that was during the Oracle at BBC. And so you're starting to see that sort of the similar thing, because remember the response to 2008 financial crisis was a whole bunch of money printing from the Fed. And so you started to see these complaints on the streets erupt around the world. We're starting to see it now. We're seeing it in Cuba. We're seeing it in France. We're seeing it, all over the world. This certainly in Lebanon, where their currency is in hyperinflation. So you're starting to see very similar rhyming to what happened post 2008 financial crisis. But I think you can clearly see there's way more money that was printed this time around.
Yeah. Well, people are slow to, revolt, because it's dangerous, and a lot of them get into a huge difficulty as a result of it. They're saying goodbye to the past. They're putting their families in jeopardy. But if you keep pushing people to the brink, eventually they're going to revolt. And so that's where we're at now. The policymakers have known now for 20 years that all of the central bank policies like quantitative easing and everything related to that is a huge drain on the economy and a huge wealth transfer from the 98% to the top 1/10 of 1%. And it's very, very obvious. It's very metaphorically stark reality when you have now billionaires flying into space, essentially on junkets, for fun. And, you've got 90,000 now opiate overdoses in America. So, how many people had to die to send Richard Branson to outer space, to send Jeff Bezos to outer space? That's really sad. But people are now sick of it. So they're just going to revolt. I mean, it's not rhetorically interesting to say this is fair, this is not fair, this is good, this is bad. It's just there's a revolt coming, or a revolution, and we're going to be living through it. And that's very exciting. As journalists, it's very exciting. As Bitcoiners, it's great, because we're going to see our Bitcoin go to multi-$100,000 per coin as central banks disintegrate. Okay, I'll take it. We've been predicting it, and now it's here.